What's up, guys? Now, before we start this video, I want to thank all of you for your support, your constant support, your consistent support. You guys have been amazing in sharing the content, in liking the content, in engaging with this type of content. This is a new avenue that I've been exploring and it's been working quite well for the channel. If you're new to this channel, welcome to Goals and Growth. Please leave us a subscribe and turn on the post notifications bell to make sure you stay up to date with the videos that I post. I try and post a video every single day, if not 2 to 3 videos every single day, so you will not run out of content on this channel. Today's video is titled Jordan Peterson Destroying Woke Liberals for 40 minutes straight. I have checked out a few of his arguments. I had checked out a few of his podcasts. He really does impress me. He's very stoic. He's very calculated. He oftentimes, and I see him as a man who really doesn't like to show his emotion. So it's going to be interesting. I love these compilations. There's a lot of them on YouTube. I can binge watch this type of content for days. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you subscribe. Let's check it out.
Why is society overly feminized?
Well, I didn't ever say that society was overly feminized. So if we're going to discuss my views, we should use my actual word.
Tell him.
What is the purpose precisely?
I am quoting things that you said.
Why? What is it that you're trying to establish?
Because you said them.
I thought we were talking about masculinity.
We are.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
How are we talking about masculinity?
Because I'm asking you what you think of men and of women.
No, that's what you've been trying to do, I would say, for the last 15 minutes is put me into a sequence of corners by accusing me of various forms of misbehavior. So why are we doing that? What's the point here?
These are things that you said. My job as a journalist is to ask questions about what you represent and the ideas that you defend.
Your job is also to select the things that you might ask about in some manner that doesn't indicate a substantive bias.
Yes.
You picked 3 things to talk.
That's a trait that we see a lot amongst modern journalists, right? It's almost like they cherry pick these questions to make you look bad. They want that incorrect answer from you to make you look bad in the media. That's the ultimate goal. As I said in a previous video, it's the negativity that gets most of the hype. It's not the good news. It's the bad news that gets most of the hype. And I believe they set up these questions in such a manner that it's kind of manipulative. It's kind of leading you toward that gray area that they so desperately want.
Talk to me about in the last 20 minutes that were very carefully selected. Like, why did you pick those things?
Because this is my job.
Should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended? Person's right not to be offended.
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I have
but you get my point.
speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So
and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and...
Oh,
I'm just trying
she's
to
joking.
work that out. I mean...
She's joking. Yeah.
Gotcha.
You have got me. You have got me.
Maybe you just think that women should be equally represented in the decision-making fora of our nation. Maybe that's really just about having proper equality in a body that's meant to be representative.
Well, I do believe that women should have... I don't understand your question, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess you don't. That's pretty obvious, unfortunately.
Well, how about if you phrase it more clearly instead of just insulting me? Look at it this way. Let's talk about quotas for a minute. So there's a very wide array of jobs that are fundamentally done by men.
Yep.
So, for example,
Member of Parliament.
99.9%
Of bricklayers.
Stop sledging you now, I promise.
No, don't interrupt him. 90.
I'm happy to give my minute to Jordan.
99.9% of bricklayers are men.
Yeah.
Should we have quotas for women?
Is bricklaying representative democracy?
That has
That's
nothing
not-
to do with the question.
It has absolutely nothing to do with
The question is if there's evidence of structural inequality and oppression because women aren't precisely represented at 50% in all professions at all levels, then why don't we have a conversation about having women represented
In all professions.
In all professions at all levels. Why do we talk about the C-suite, for example?
Yeah, I mean, why cherry pick? Why be so selective? If you want equality, you want 50% equality. That's fine, but it has to be across the board. You can't cherry pick the jobs that you want equality in and expect people to be okay with that. As I said, 99% of bricklayers are men. So if you truly want equality, do it across the board. Let's make 50% women bricklayers, 50% men bricklayers. But they have a problem with that because it's not part of the democratic process, so to speak. So she's cherry picking, basically.
Because women aren't precisely represented at 50% in all professions at all levels, then why don't we have a conversation about having women represented in all professions at all levels? Why do we talk about the C-suite, for
Makes
example?
the most sense.
Why do we talk about politics and positions of power? Why don't we talk about it across the board?
Well, that's my idea of the patriarchy, which is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male-dominated?
Please explain.
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labour.
Very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men,
and then you're generalizing
and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. You know, terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy.
Well,
it just means that terrible things happen to both genders, which they certainly do.
But there are almost no women who rape men, for example. So that is an asymmetry there in sexual violence.
Yeah, but
yes, there's an asymmetry in all sorts of places, but that doesn't mean that Western culture is a male-dominated patriarchy. The fact that there are asymmetries has nothing to do with your basic argument.
All right, well, that's the end of that with the ad break, but there's a lot of cherry picking going on. If you want equality, don't cherry pick. Don't go for the positions of power only. If you want equality, equality is supposed to be across the board. So you got to make up your mind there. If you enjoyed this video,
today, understanding and deriving meaningful.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you share it. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.